This week, Bernadette and I unlocked the secret to making young girls and lonely women cry. We watched The Fault in Our Stars.
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now. Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now.
Welcome to Sitcoms Anonymous. I'm your host, Andrew, and my co-host this week is
Bernadette.
And we are doing our new show, First Thoughts, where we tell you our first thoughts about movies we have seen recently. Bernadette, what did we see this week?
We saw The Fault in Our Stars, or as I like to put it, The Stars' Fault.
The Stars' Fault. Did the stars do it?
I'm not really sure who did it.
Certainly wasn't the butler. Was not the butler. Yeah. So, this is another one of those movies that is based off a string. Not even a string. A very popular young adult novel. And before we start this podcast, I'd like to say that Bernadette, neither of us have read the novel, and we have nothing against young adult fiction. We both love Harry Potter, and I enjoy The Hunger Games for all its flaws. And neither of us really hate John Green either. John Green's a very funny guy. You should check out his YouTube show, Mental Floss.
Yes, never checked it out before.
But do it after you watch this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, saying all that, I hated this movie.
Was not a fan.
Not a fan.
Which it probably didn't help matters that we're sitting in a theater full of teenage girls.
Who had the lamest catchphrase from the movie, from the novels, I guess.
Like scrapbook on their tissue box.
It was a sight to behold.
Yes.
And I don't know if that affects how we saw the film. Okay, where you and how you see the film affects it, obviously. But I don't know if we saw this in 4 weeks when it wasn't as popular, whether or not it would have still have been as bad. We can't really speak to that, but I did not like it. I was pretty excited about this movie too. I thought it would be good. So that being said, let's do a quick synopsis. Spoiler alert: we are pretty much going to just spoil this movie because neither of us really liked it. So.
I'll try not to spoil it too much. Anyway, girl has cancer. Parents think she's depressed. Make her go to a cancer support group for like teenagers. Goes. Hates it the first time, goes again, ends up meeting this boy who's there for his friend. Come to find out, he's had cancer too, and they just kind of click right away.
He falls in love with her. She's pretty wary because she is going to die soon. He uses his Make-A-Wish to fly her and him and her mother to Amsterdam to meet the author of her favorite book, which, spoiler alert, is also about cancer. And turns out he's a jerk. And what else?
While they're in Amsterdam, the boy tells her being Hazel Grace, that his cancer's returned, and this time it's all over his body.
But we'll let you finish the movie to see who dies in this movie.
Do they both die?
Do they both die? Does one die? Does one die in a most glorious fashion, like being thrown out of a plane wearing a Superman outfit?
Does the plane crash coming back from Amsterdam?
Does the plane crash, and do people survive in the mountains and have to eat one another while also fighting Yetis or Bigfoots?
That would have been a really
that would have been a much better movie. Much better movie.
So, anyway, yeah, that's basically the synopsis of the movie.
This movie stars Shailene Woodley as Hazel Grace and Ansel Elgort as Augustus. I don't know Augustus's last name, so let's just say
Waters.
It's Augustus Waters.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Augustus Gloop, as I was going to make the joke.
No, Waters.
And it's got also have Laura Dern as Mom. I don't think she has a name.
Yeah, no.
And it's directed by Josh Boone. And this is his second big feature.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the positive.
I felt like the actors did a good job portraying that particular type of character for that age.
I think Shailene Woodley was awesome and then just got better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was not the bad of this movie.
Right.
Ansel Elgort, who plays Augustus, the love interest, I did not care for. I thought
I liked him because he kind of at least made it funny.
I thought he was creepy. Because here's how he gets her to notice him. He just stares at her, like intensely, and just does not stop. Doesn't smile. Doesn't say hello. Just stares at her, and he's always giving off he's always faux poetic, and he's saying things like, I'll put a cigarette between my mouth because it's a metaphor. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, sort of thing.
I didn't like that. This kid does take and he puts a cigarette in between his teeth, but he never lights it. But I felt like that was showing our young adults and teenagers it's okay to have this cigarette, even if you don't light it. But let's put that temptation right there in your mouth.
I just thought he was not very cool. I thought he was creepy. I thought he was snarky, and honestly, I thought we got to the negative real quick. I thought that none of the characters were fully formed characters. You know, both Hazel and Augustus are ciphers for the audience. Hazel is a cipher for every young girl reading that book. And, oh, this is me. I'm world weary, and I can be, you know, I can talk pretty, and I just need that one guy that'll make me feel better. And then Augustus is that cipher of he's the manic pixie boy, if you will. But that was, and so I thought, you know, their big flaw in the movie is that they have cancer, and cancer is not a character flaw.
I was gonna say, yeah. It just happened to be part of what their character was.
Did we mention they fly to Amsterdam?
Yes.
That's right. I can't remember. This is how little I care about this movie. Also Willem Dafoe is in this film. Mm-hmm. We forgot to mention that. Willem Dafoe.
He was a drunk.
Willem Dafoe plays the author of the book that they're both obsessed with, and he's a drunk, and he says something pretty interesting. This is kind of why I don't like the characters is they basically get whatever they want no matter what. Like, the mother doesn't tell them no, doesn't matter, you know.
Regardless of how much they're paying in bills.
Yeah.
And the fact that this girl was just in the hospital.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe makes the point of saying, you can't get everything you want just because you're sick. And you're used to that, and it's not right. Granted, he says it like a total jerk. But it's a thought. And her response to that is basically, I get whatever I want. You tell me right now. You tell me the answers I had right now. Other good things. Laura Dern is great as the mother. Mm-hmm. She was the only time I literally choked up during the movie. When they show a flashback of her initially getting cancer and her mother saying, you know, it's okay, you can go, it's all right, you can let go and quit fighting. And that choked me up a little bit.
Do you feel like you made a connection with that though, with Andrew's cousin? She died, 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
Do you feel like you made some type of connection there?
I haven't seen somebody I love go through that. I would say so. Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. I think that's almost why I want to say, kind of on a similar note, the love story didn't work for me. The reason I didn't cry was because the love story didn't work for me. Like, I've been in love. I'm in love. You know, I'm gonna marry you. And if I lost you to cancer, I would be devastated. But this did not make me.
No, I think
that did not invoke those feelings of what if I lost you?
Right.
Because it was very much a teenage love where it's ultimately you want to say, in a few years, kids, this won't matter,
I really felt like this could have been like a Disney movie
This could totally have been on the Disney Channel.
or on the Lifetime channel.
Yes, that's a good point.
I felt like it could have. Just because of the sappiness and how it's continuously, oh, I'm sick, but I've got this perfect ending that's going to happen. And
you mean where they fight the Yeti monsters?
Yes. So I don't know.
Other good things. Mike Birbiglia, very funny comedian, is in this.
We're in the heart of Jesus.
He plays the, I guess, the leader of the cancer support group, and he gets testicular cancer, and then he builds like this giant Jesus rug.
He does like one of those latch hook things.
Oh yeah,
where you pull the like 3 or 4 inch lengths of yarn through to a pattern.
Right, and like I love Mike Birbiglia. I think he's a funny comedian. Check out his stand up after you check out the show Mental Floss, and after you listen to this podcast. And I felt really bad for him because they were so mean to him.
Yeah, I was like, you have cancer too.
Yeah,
like
this is how he copes.
He's in remission. Yeah. You, my friend, could die. You have stage 4.
Can't you understand where he's coming from? I guess ultimately they come around to it because they eventually go back to that church a few times and out of nowhere. His friend is very funny. His friend is probably the funnier things about the movie. Augustus goes with a friend to the support group, and he has lost both eyes now to cancer, and he is with this girl, and they have the most teenage relationship you'll ever see, in which they repeat one phrase over and over, and meaning I love you, which is always. He'll say always, and then she'll say always. Okay. So that's kind of like, at one point, that's where I leaned over to Bernadette, because at one point, they start saying, Augustus and Hazel start saying, okay, to one another. And that's when I leaned over to Bernadette, and they literally say, this could be our always. And it's, well, weren't you making fun of always like 5 minutes ago? Now you have your own always, and so that like just doesn't give credibility.
Kind of contradictory.
Oh, it just steals all credibility away from their relationship for me.
How did you feel about the texting?
Yeah, I actually like that. I didn't hate that. I imagine that's something from the book that they had, and I think it does translate well because visually I enjoyed it. How about you?
I did not like it.
You didn't like it at all?
I felt like it was something you would see in like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or something. Like something so teenagey, and I get, it probably got the audience and pulled them in, especially that younger audience, but as me, I did not like it.
Yeah, I can see that. What I was glad was that it was at least visually enjoyable to look at. Like, it had an interesting look to it. It wasn't simple, like, text across the screen or, didn't...
subtitles.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, it was catchy the way they did it.
Yeah, it worked. I think it worked for the movie. Though I think this movie has too much narration. And I think that's a problem with a lot of young adult fiction turned into movies. Is because you're always in a character's head. And so they're like, well, we'll do that, but through narration. And here's a little secret about movies. If it has narration, 7 out of 10 times, it's not going to be a good movie. How many movies have you seen that like have narration like straight from the beginning?
Oh yeah, no.
Didn't I can tell you a few that are actually good. One of them's your recommendation, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But like Goodfellas does it, it works. Lord of the Rings has it at the very beginning of the series, and it works. This film, it doesn't. It doesn't work. Overall look at the film. How did you feel?
It was, like I said, it could have been a Lifetime movie. Or a Disney movie.
Especially at the very beginning. I think once they get to Amsterdam, I'm sorry.
Yeah, now that was very, I liked that. That was very captivating, and I'm like, ooh, I want to go to Amsterdam. But the rest of the movie takes place in Indiana, close to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think so.
They never really say exactly where in Indiana.
That's because it could take place in your hometown, ladies, and you can find your own one-legged man to love you.
So yeah.
Okay, down to our last two things, and I feel these are the biggest egregiouses in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Despite acting, and the acting's not terrible. Don't get me wrong. I think Shailene Woodley as Hazel is probably the best so far. But despite all that, despite story, despite look, the Anne Frank scene.
Oh, that was quite. It was like I was excited because you know how I am about the Holocaust.
Bernadette studied the Holocaust. She's not some weird Nazi.
No, I'm not a Nazi. And I was a little disturbed by that.
Yeah. To set it up, they have just met the author. The author turns out is a drunk and a jerk, and he's Willem Dafoe. And so they're in Amsterdam, and they decide to go to the Anne Frank Museum.
Now, was the lady his wife or his secretary?
It was his secretary. His secretary takes them to the Anne Frank Museum. Or the Anne Frank house, not the museum.
Yeah.
And they climb to the very top. And all this time, you are hearing snippets from the diary. And then they get to the very top. And then they proceed to make out at the very top. And then everyone starts clapping. And in the audience, everyone started clapping for some reason. And this is in horribly, horribly bad taste, I feel.
That they make out?
That they make out. Not that they make out, but that they make out in the Anne Frank house.
Yeah, I mean, at least wait till you get down on the cobblestone street.
Yeah. Our dog is barking. If you hear that in the background, we're sorry. That's Boss.
So, ratings.
Oh, wait. I want to talk about the Anne Frank. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just feel like thematically I get it that, these are two girls that have like the weight of the world on their shoulders, and so they decide they're going to live life, but I just feel it was horribly inappropriate and wrong.
Right.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the title.
Oh, whose fault is it?
Whose fault is it?
Why is it their fault?
Did you get the title at all?
No.
It's not.
It's never explained.
It's not explained in the movie. I don't believe it's explained in the book. I had to Google it. Apparently it comes from the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar, and I'm going to do my best Julius Caesar line reading here, if our dog doesn't ruin it. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in the stars, but in ourselves. Which is the idea that, it's not the universe's fault that things happen to you. It's your fault that things happen to you.
Really?
Yes.
So it's their fault they have cancer.
No, but then the idea is like...
but you write your own... It's kind of, like, to me, it kind of falls into that, the whole sense of, you can't control what's happened in the past, but you can control what happens in the future.
I get that, but I think the point John Green was trying to make was, well, sometimes it is the universe's fault that stuff happens to you. But that's kind of what I feel about the movie as a whole, is that it's just, that's another level of pretentiousness on top of a pretentiousness sandwich.
Right.
It is the pretentious hat on top of another pretentious hat. It's just too much.
Right.
And it just doesn't work.
Okay, so now ratings.
Ratings.
See it in the theater, red box it, buy it, or totally ditch it.
If you are a 13-year-old girl who is still out there looking for love, this is not what you're going to find at all. But you are going to enjoy this movie. If you are an 18-year-old girl who is obsessed with your boyfriend, who has a creepy mustache and lives 2 hours away, then you're going to enjoy this movie. If you're a lonely old woman that, has a sad life... Okay, Bernadette's giving me shaking my head. If you are a teenage girl and older woman, you'll probably enjoy this. If you're a regular moviegoer, I would say you could ditch it.
I just say ditch it. I just didn't like it.
Didn't like it at all. But you're not a lonely old woman.
So.
You have me, the love of your life.
Right. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
New section. What movies do we recommend? I'm recommending 2 to watch. These are actually already out on DVD.
But these are to watch instead of the bad movie you just watched.
Yeah.
Or on top of the good movie you just watched.
My recommendation, Wolf of Wall Street and Dallas Buyers Club, both 18 years and up. I would not watch it if you are younger.
17. 17 is what you get in for an R-rated movie.
Okay.
That's fair.
Still, though.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have watched
If you
it
are
with my
if
sister.
you're under 18...
And you don't know about Dallas Buyers Club. You've never seen it.
No, I do know both have Matthew McConaughey in it, and both are great
Mm-hmm.
movies. My movie I'm recommending came out years and years ago. It's called Amistad. It's about a couple of slaves who I can't even think of it right now. They take over a ship and they crash land in America, and it's decided whether or not to send them back to slavery. But my favorite part of the whole movie, I'm sorry, real quick, is Anthony Hopkins plays John Quincy Adams, and he decides to call upon the spirit of his ancestors, and there is a statue of John Quincy Adams behind him. But I kind of wanted John Adams goes to rise. Ooh, slavery is bad. That did not happen.
Okay, so
Do you want to talk about the big the alternate ending to the Fault in Our Stars?
I don't want to ruin it for people.
Okay, but
I don't want to ruin anything for anybody.
How about we say if you are? How about we say that if you don't want to be the original ending spoiled, then cut off now. Have a good night. We'll see you later. But spoiler alerts, we're going to talk about the initial alternate ending.
Spoiler
Spoilers!
alert.
It's a spoiler alert song. We just wrote it. Bernadette. The initial ending. This isn't the actual ending, but the original ending was that when Gus dies, that Hazel Grace decides that her death needs to matter as much.
Uh-huh.
And so she decides to go and kill a drug dealer.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
That
No.
she would die taking out this drug deal, like this high up drug dealer.
Come on. She was all gangsta when she went and bought the eggs to egg the one girl's car.
Yeah.
But
do you think this would have been?
Why would she need to do that when? Like,
do you think this would have been a better movie if that's how it actually ended?
Well, me personally, yes, but not for teenagers.
No, I would have loved that ending, especially how I feel boring this film was. But that's not what we got. What we can pretend. Maybe that'll be a deleted scene.
Maybe it'll be like the next version.
That'll be the sequel.
Yes. Hazel's still living.
Hazel Grace, drug hunter. Well, thank you for listening. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back soon. We'll be back with 22 Jump Street this weekend.
Yeah.
Or as Bernadette likes to call it, Jump Street 22.
Yes.
So we'll see you then. This is First Thoughts. I'm your co-host, Andrew.
And Bernadette.
And we'll see you at the movies. Thanks.